In a surprising turn, Senator Bernie Sanders caused outrage by circulating a false claim about President Donald Trump's death. But Vice President JD Vance refused to ignore it. In a sharp exchange, Vance dismantled Sanders's claims in moments, leaving the senator discredited. The clash quickly dominated online discussions, sparking a wave of reaction. The afternoon news cycle exploded. On television screens and across social media, a headline appeared in bold red: "President Donald Trump is dead." The rumor spread rapidly. Influencers uploaded shaky videos, bloggers posted constant updates, and hashtags trended worldwide. At the center of it all was one figure: Senator Bernie Sanders. Angry and determined to damage Trump's legacy, Sanders chose misinformation as his weapon. Appearing live on air, he repeated with a stern face, "Trump is gone. America must move on from this tyrant." Across the country, families gasped. Some cried. In nursing homes, schools, small towns, and cities, people whispered in shock. Could it be true? Was their president, their fighter, really gone? But inside the White House, confusion quickly shifted to anger. Vice President JD Vance had been monitoring closely. He knew the truth. Only yesterday, Trump had been laughing with his granddaughter Kai on the golf course in Sterling, Virginia. And Vance knew something else. Sanders had crossed a line. Standing in his office, Vance gripped the edge of his desk, his face tight with controlled anger. Staff hurried in, holding phones buzzing with calls from reporters and citizens demanding clarity. "Sir, the rumor is everywhere. People are panicking," one aide said. Vance answered firmly, "This isn't just gossip. This is sabotage. Sanders is trying to divide America." On another network, Sanders's voice grew harsher. He called Trump a tyrant, a fraud, even unfit to lead. His words spread widely, fueling division. Vance, however, closed his eyes briefly for patience before deciding it was time to respond. Straightening his tie, he moved toward the press room. His aides urged him to wait and prepare notes, but he refused. "No notes," he said. "The truth doesn't need a script." The briefing room overflowed. Reporters shouted over one another. "Is the president alive? Has the White House confirmed Sanders's statement? What is happening?" Vance stepped up to the podium. The room fell silent. Speaking without hesitation, he declared, "America, let me tell you clearly, President Trump is alive. Just yesterday, he was golfing with his granddaughter Kai. They laughed, they played, they enjoyed the sunshine. He is alive, strong, and still fighting for you." A wave of relief moved through the room. Reporters rushed to update their feeds, but Vance pressed on. His voice grew sharper. "What you heard today from Senator Sanders is not politics. It is sickness. It is an advanced stage of Trump derangement. He hates this president so much, he would rather see the nation collapse than admit Trump is making it strong again." Almost instantly, Sanders's story unraveled. Across the country, in diners, truck stops, and homes, people cheered with relief. "Trump's alive!" one woman shouted while hugging her children. But anger soon followed. Fathers slammed tables, mothers shook their heads. How could Sanders mislead millions like this? Social media filled with videos of frustrated Americans demanding answers. Meanwhile, young Kai Trump scrolled through her phone, stunned. Just hours earlier, she had been laughing with her grandfather, and now millions mourned his supposed death. Recording a quick video for friends, she said softly, "My grandpa's fine. Why would they lie about him?" The clip spread instantly, gaining millions of views. Public opinion was shifting. Back in a studio, Sanders smirked as his comments replayed on multiple networks. But his confidence faded when an aide whispered, "Sir, Vance just destroyed your claim. Everyone's talking about it." Still, Sanders doubled down. He insisted, "Don't be fooled, America. Trump is weak and unfit. He can golf, but he can't lead this country. The audience shifted uneasily. Some clapped, but others sat silently, their doubt growing. Online, hashtags flipped. Trump alive surged to #1. Memes mocked Sanders' false announcement. Influencers who had spread the rumor scrambled to delete their posts, but screenshots exposed them. The truth was now spreading faster than the lie. In the White House, Vance received new evidence, a note with financial records showing Sanders' team had funded influencers to push the rumor. Vance's jaw tightened as he read. "This ends tonight." He returned to the podium with fresh resolve. "America, let me be clear. Bernie Sanders didn't just lie. He paid people to spread this false story, hoping you would believe your president was gone. He wanted chaos, he wanted division, but what he got instead was the truth." Gasps filled the room. Vance placed the evidence on the podium. "This is fraud. While President Trump is fighting to put America first, Sanders is working to tear it down." Within minutes, clips of Vance's remarks spread across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Comments poured in. "This is the vice president we need. God bless Vance and Trump." For the first time that day, Sanders looked unsettled. Across the nation, families who had cried earlier now felt relief. Yet anger grew stronger. Americans felt betrayed. Not only had they been misled, their emotions had been exploited. Hashtags turned again, this time to Bernie the liar. Citizens recorded raw videos. "My grandmother fainted when she heard the news. How dare you, Bernie?" In his Vermont office, Sanders paced nervously. The rumor he believed would harm Trump had collapsed, and now he stood exposed. Back at the White House, Vance wasn't celebrating. Addressing the nation, he said firmly, "This isn't just about Donald Trump, it's about truth. If lies win, America loses." His words struck a chord, broadcast live into millions of homes. Vance went further, exposing Sanders' record. "This isn't new. Sanders has opposed Trump from day one. He mocked America first, as if patriotism was wrong. And now, while Trump shares a simple afternoon with his granddaughter, Sanders calls him unfit and even pretends he is gone. What kind of leader does that?" He held up photos of Trump smiling with Kai from the golf course hours earlier. "This is the man Sanders wished gone. A grandfather, a leader, a fighter for you." Tears flowed in homes across the nation. Relief turned to frustration at the deception. Meanwhile, Sanders was pushed into another interview. Producers warned him, "You need to respond. Vance has the country on his side." But as the cameras turned on, Sanders stumbled. "This is just politics. Trump is still—" His voice cracked. Even his own supporters looked uneasy. Clips of Bernie stumbling spread online within minutes. "He looks finished," one influencer wrote. Vance crushed him. But JD Vance didn't stop there. He raised his hand in the press room, quieting the noise. "America, Bernie. Sanders wanted you broken. He wanted you to believe your president was gone so you would lose hope. But let me be clear, Donald J. Trump is alive and so is America's spirit. Don't let the liars win." The words landed heavily. For the first time, Sanders appeared not as a powerful senator, but as a man stripped bare before the nation. Vance wasn't done. He steadied himself, then delivered another point. "Let's remember," he said firmly, "Sanders was no outsider during the Biden years. He stood by while America was flooded with chaos. He supported open borders, ignored crime, and watched families lose jobs. And now that Trump is fixing that mess, Sanders spreads lies about his death." The press murmured. The claims were undeniable. Vance's words painted a vivid picture of past failures. Parents who lost businesses during the Biden era nodded, quietly. "He's right," many whispered. Online, clips circulated of Sanders supporting Biden-era policies, spliced against Vance's sharp criticism. The weight was crushing, one man tweeted. They ruined us once, and now they try again with lies. Backstage, Sanders slammed his fist on the table. His greatest fear was unfolding. His past was resurfacing. Out in the streets, emotions ran high. In Phoenix, veterans crowded around. A small diner TV, eyes wet as Vance spoke. "He's fighting for us," one said, his voice breaking. "Trump's alive, and Vance is protecting his name." In Ohio, a widow recorded a trembling video. "Bernie made me cry this morning when I thought Trump had died. I buried my husband last year. I know what death feels like. For Sanders to play with that pain is unforgivable. Thank you, JD Vance, for standing up for us." These raw messages poured across TikTok and Instagram, turning the moment into a movement. Platforms weren't just filled with memes anymore. They were filled with tears, gratitude, and relief. Families thanked Vance. Teenagers held signs reading, "Trump is alive. Truth wins." Vance wasn't only countering Sanders. He was uniting the country in grief, anger, and hope. Each word carried the weight of millions who had been misled, and the power shift was unmistakable. By evening, Sanders was ushered into another studio. His aides were pale, their phones buzzing with bad news. "Senator, donations are collapsing. We're losing support by the second." His hands shook as he faced the camera. "This is all a misunderstanding," he stammered. But the audience wasn't convinced. Vance's revelations about paid influencers and past failures were everywhere. Meanwhile, Vance's energy grew. Standing before America again, he delivered the line that struck hardest. Sanders doesn't hate Trump for who he is. He hates Trump because Trump exposes everything he failed to fix. He hates him because Trump succeeds where he failed. The crowd erupted. Even reporters who had been cautious earlier applauded despite rules of neutrality. In his studio chair, Sanders froze. He had thrown his harshest attacks at Trump, but Vance turned them back with such force that Sanders looked smaller than ever. Vance lifted a thick folder, freshly verified by investigators. Cameras zoomed in. "This isn't just about lies on television," he said. "This is about corruption that runs deep. For years, Sanders used taxpayer money while preaching fairness. He shouted for the people, but quietly took from the very people he claimed to serve." Opening the folder, he displayed documents showing inflated contracts, donations routed to shell groups, and money disappearing. Gasps filled the room. Reporters scribbled furiously. Outside, ordinary Americans clenched their fists as they watched. Workers who had lost savings began to cry, realizing how deeply they'd been betrayed. All those speeches, all those promises, and he was stealing from us, one farmer muttered on a live stream. Sanders' aides scrambled to cut his feed, but it was too late. The revelations spread instantly. In Kentucky, miners huddled around a radio, their faces dark with coal dust. Tears streaked as they listened. "He called himself our champion," one said, choking back emotion. "But all along he robbed us." Mothers who had believed in Sanders' promises broke down online. "He said he'd help families like mine," one single mother said on TikTok, holding her child. "But he helped himself while leaving us behind." Her clip went viral in minutes. Vance's words now went beyond politics. "America," he said, his voice steady. "You deserve leaders who fight for you, not leaders who deceive you. You deserve the truth." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the weight he carried. For a moment, the country saw not just a vice president, but a man speaking for millions. Sanders tried again to respond, but his energy was gone. His shoulders sagged. His voice trembled. "These are lies. A smear," he muttered. But conviction was missing. A man in the audience shouted, "What about the money, Bernie? What about the truth?" Security rushed in, but the moment stuck. On live television, Vance delivered the night's final blow. You see a man before you who has nothing left but hatred for Donald Trump. But hatred cannot build a nation. Hatred cannot feed a family. And hatred will never make America great again. The room erupted in applause. Even journalists stood clapping. In that instant, Bernie Sanders was no longer the powerful senator. He was a diminished figure, exposed before the world. Vance's team released further evidence, receipts, transfers, contracts signed under Sanders' oversight. Reporters flipped through the pages, stunned. The proof was detailed and undeniable. This money, Vance said, holding one sheet, was stolen from hard-working Americans. It was funneled into fake charities and used to buy loyalty. And today, it was used to spread a disgusting lie about your president's death. The press room fell silent. Even Trump's harshest critics shifted uneasily. Across the nation, families gasped. All these years we trusted him, an elderly man whispered. On TikTok, a young soldier filmed himself in uniform. I risk my life for this country. To see a leader betray us like this, it hurts more than any battlefield. Thank you, JD Vance, for standing up for us. Meanwhile, Sanders visibly collapsed. His denials drowned under the weight of evidence. The avalanche was too much. In real time, he was being buried. Across the country, people raised their voices. In Texas, truckers lined up their rigs, horns blaring. In New York, parents gathered, in a park holding signs that read, "Truth over lies." Social media swelled with hashtags, "Truth wins," "Thank you, Vance," "Trump alive." A grandmother live-streamed, clutching her Bible. I wept when I thought Trump had died. Bernie Sanders made me feel that pain for nothing, but JD Vance gave me back hope. Millions of comments poured in. Some called it the most emotional political day in recent memory. At the White House, Vance remained composed. America, never. Again will you be manipulated by hatred. We stand for truth, for family, and for our future. Cornered, Sanders lashed out during another interview. Don't listen to Vance. Trump is old, broken, unfit. But the cameras caught what words could not. His trembling hands, his darting eyes, the sweat on his forehead. The image of a confident fighter was gone. He looked like a man unraveling. Back at the press room, Vance responded sharply. This isn't about age. This isn't about politics. This is about decency. Yesterday, President Trump was golfing with his granddaughter, Kai. Today, Bernie Sanders tried to bury him with lies. What does that say about the kind of leader he is? The press gasped. Families across America wiped fresh tears. They saw the innocence of a granddaughter almost pulled into political deception, and their hearts broke. Sanders had reached his breaking point. His voice no longer carried weight, while Vance's grew stronger. Looking straight into the camera, Vance concluded, "This isn't only about Bernie Sanders lying today, it's about the company he kept yesterday. During the Biden administration, he wasn't just a senator. He had once been a trusted ally. He stayed silent as America's borders opened, as criminal groups crossed in, and as working families lost everything. Now he seeks to pull the nation back into that same turmoil." The press immediately reacted. Reporters scribbled quickly, aware the story had shifted, no longer just about Bernie, but about the failures of the past. On television screens across the country, images replayed, chaotic border crossings, shuttered factories, and families displaced under Biden's presidency. Vance's words cut through the noise. Trump is repairing what Bernie helped destroy. That's why Bernie despises him. Trump's progress exposes his shortcomings. Viewers at home sat in silence, some holding back tears. This was no longer only about politics. It was personal. They remembered those difficult years and saw clearly who had stood against them. Bernie Sanders, in the studio chair, had no response. With cameras on him, he stared at the floor. Producers urged him, "Say something, Senator." But the strength in his voice was gone. His lips trembled and only a nervous cough came through. Meanwhile, Vance's words spread across every broadcast. Bernie Sanders shows the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome we've ever witnessed. He cannot accept that Donald Trump is alive, strong, and putting America first. So he created a falsehood, a funeral that never happened, a tragedy that never existed. Families wept again, not out of fear this time, but from disappointment that anyone could be so cruel. On social media, one woman wrote through tears, "My daughter cried for hours when she believed Trump had died. How could a senator do that to a child? God bless JD Vance for telling the truth." Bernie's silence spoke louder than any speech. The nation saw not a leader, but a man weighed down by his own deception. The night reached its height when JD Vance stepped out of the press room and into the crowd gathered near the White House. Farmers, veterans, parents, and students held candles, their faces glowing with emotion. Vance lifted his hand and the crowd grew quiet. "America," he said softly, "truth is stronger than lies. President Trump is alive, and together we will make sure this country never bows to deceit again." The crowd responded with cheers and tears. Some prayed openly. Others raised signs reading, "We believe in Trump. We believe in Vance." At that moment, Vance wasn't only vice president. He became the shield between America and the chaos Bernie tried to unleash. Cameras recorded every face lit by candlelight, unified in hope. Bernie Sanders, watching from his studio, realized the humiliation was complete. His falsehood had failed, and it had only strengthened Vance. By morning, the internet was on fire. Clips of Vance dismantling Bernie's claims had millions of views. TikTok overflowed with emotional videos, people crying, praying, even thanking God that Trump lived. One viral video showed a boy holding an American flag, whispering, "I thought President Trump died." But JD Vance told us the truth. Thank you, Mr. Vance. It reached 20 million views within hours. Meanwhile, Sanders became the face of betrayal. Memes mocked him. Hashtags like Bernie the Fraud trended, and even news anchors admitted his credibility might be permanently damaged. At his desk, Vance told his staff calmly, "This is bigger than politics. We're rebuilding trust." His words were genuine, not rehearsed, and people felt it. Online, unity grew stronger while Bernie's image collapsed. Across towns and cities, families gathered as if celebrating a holiday. Churches opened for prayers of thanks. People hugged and wept with relief that Trump was alive. A grandmother in Georgia streamed to her family. "Last night I thought hope was gone. Today, JD Vance gave it back." Her words resonated everywhere. In Iowa, farmers lined tractors and sounded their horns. In Florida, veterans marched with flags chanting, "Truth wins." The sense of unity was stronger than the nation had seen in years. Vance's defense of Trump had reignited trust. Bernie Sanders, realizing too late, saw his plan had backfired. What was meant to divide had instead united Americans around Trump and Vance. By midday, Sanders faced another live interview. His face pale, his voice weak. He tried to defend himself, claiming he had been misinformed, but few believed him. One reporter pressed, "Senator, why did you call President Trump a tyrant, a loser, even a pedophile without proof? Why spread panic across the country?" Bernie froze. Cameras caught his trembling hands as he stammered, I may have gone too far." That admission was devastating. A man once known for boldness now appeared broken. Clips spread instantly with captions, "The Fall of Bernie. Truth defeats lies." Meanwhile, Vance spoke again, his tone steady yet compassionate. "America deserves better." Today proved that lies, no matter how loud, can never bury the truth. The contrast was clear. Vance appeared as a leader on the rise, while Bernie seemed diminished. The White House prepared a moment to end all doubt. The doors opened and President Donald Trump walked in, alive, healthy, and smiling. Photographers rushed forward. Reporters gasped. Some even clapped. Trump, in a dark suit and red tie, approached the podium. "Well," he said with a grin, "rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." Laughter and tears filled the room. Across America, families cheered and embraced. Vance stood beside Trump, nodding proudly. "America," he declared, "the truth is standing right here." The man Bernie Sanders tried to bury is alive and stronger than ever. The sight of president and vice president together signaled unity. The footage spread faster than the original rumor. Every phone lit up with the same clip. Trump smiling and waving. In towns, church bells rang. In cities, horns echoed. In neighborhoods, people gathered with flags. One viral video showed a girl hugging her father, whispering, "Daddy, he's alive. President Trump is alive." Millions watched, many leaving emotional messages. And through it all, Vance's name trended alongside Trump's. The nation saw not only the president, but also the man who defended him in his darkest hour. One comment read, "Without Vance, we'd still be afraid. He's the hero we didn't know we needed." Bernie Sanders, meanwhile, faced humiliation. Networks replayed his false claims against footage of Trump alive. It was the ultimate disgrace. Even his staff turned away. Donations vanished, supporters left, and his influence collapsed. By contrast, JD Vance's standing soared. Analysts across channels agreed. Bernie had brought despair, but Vance gave hope. That night outside the White House, chants of "Vance, Vance, Vance" echoed. He and Trump waved from a balcony. For once, America wasn't divided. It was united, relieved, and proud. Bernie had tried to bury Trump with lies. Instead, he buried himself. As Trump stood with Vance, the crowd swelled, chanting, "Truth, truth, truth." Flags waved, candles glowed, and voices rose in unison. Vance raised his hand and said firmly, "Bernie Sanders wanted America divided. But look around. You are united. Tonight, truth prevailed. Tomorrow, America will be stronger because of it." Chants erupted again, and across the nation, people stood, clapped, and cried together. A father in Arizona lifted his son onto his shoulders and shouted at the TV, "That's our vice president. That's our fighter." This wasn't just a political moment. It was spiritual. America felt alive again. Its heartbeat as one, far. Away, Bernie Sanders sat alone in his office, the television replaying the images he had tried to prevent. Trump alive, smiling, and loved. His face went pale as commentators shredded his credibility. "The senator has destroyed his career in one night," one analyst said. Clips of his bitter attacks, calling Trump a tyrant, a loser, even worse, were replayed beside warm images of Trump with his granddaughter, Kai. The contrast was devastating. Bernie had tried to bury a man, but instead buried himself. His phone buzzed with calls from allies, but few offered support. Most were abandoning him. One message read simply, "We can't defend this." Meanwhile, JD Vance's popularity exploded. People who once doubted him now called him a hero. On every network, anchors praised his composure, his passion, and his truth. America had seen a leader who refused to bow to lies, and they loved him for it. Bernie had lost the battle. JD Vance had won the nation. The night closed with Trump and Vance standing side by side before the cameras. Trump spoke first. "America, I'm alive. I'm strong and I'm fighting for you. Don't let the liars steal your hope." Then JD Vance stepped forward, voice steady, eyes fierce. "Tonight we proved that no lie is stronger than truth. No hate is stronger than love for this country, and no rumor can bury a president who serves the people." America erupted. Streets filled with cheering, families wept together, and millions across the world watched in awe. The internet declared it. The night lies died, and truth rose again. Bernie Sanders faded into silence. JD Vance, standing firm, became the voice of hope. This story wasn't just about a rumor anymore. It was about America's heart beating stronger than ever. Now, my dear viewers, if this story moved you, if it made you cry, if it gave you chills, don't just watch silently. Smash that like button, drop a comment below about the moment that touched you most, and hit subscribe so you never miss stories that bring truth to life. And for those who want to go deeper, join our membership family to unlock special features. Let's keep this fire burning together, because America's story isn't finished, and neither is ours.